I actually wanted to ask, how would you express, like if you say the car is being repaired, we do not know who is doing it. Yeah, because the doer, the Täter, we call this, like Tatort, you might have heard this, especially when you work with my course, is not visible. That's the idea of the passive. In passive, we do not care about who does it. But if it's somehow important, then we can simply add the doer easily by adding von, and then the doer in the dative could be mir, which is by me. The car has been repaired by me. Or it could be, as you will see in other examples, yeah, I am being forced. Let's say I am being forced by my mother. Maybe you can try that. Can anyone try? I am being forced by my mother. And by in German is von in this context. I just need to see one right answer and then I show the solution. Come, who's fast? You can do that. By my mother. If you haven't done the dative, of course, then you can't do that. But you can do mother. That looks lovely. Thank you, Lily. Milan. Good. Von meiner Mutter. Doesn't get simpler. Well, you need to know the dative, but that's about it. Let's take a look at the other two examples that I have given. Again, think with me and share your answer. Du wirst eingestellt. You are being employed. And you are being employed by my boss. Boss in German, maybe you know. You could use boss if you don't know the German word. Ich werde von meiner Mutter repariert, das finde ich auch schön. I will actually have examples like that, friend. So how about the eingestellt? I am being employed by my boss. Or you are being employed by my boss. Yeah, Sean is a bit polite. I already gave you the do, the informal one. Very nice examples. Von meinem Chef. Yeah, chef is a false friend. There's also a chef in the kitchen in German, der Chef, but it's rather der Koch, the cook. And the last one was this one. Fish is not being cooked here. That's a tricky one. Let's say fish is being cooked by nobody here. That's a bit trickier. What is nobody in German? Just giving you a couple of seconds. Yeah, fish is not being cooked. Fish is not being cooked by anybody, actually, but you need the German word nobody. Niemand, niemals means never. Dragos, careful. Niemand is correct. So niemand in dative is a lovely one. Sean got it. Sean is possibly an advanced learner. Sean, out yourself. Tiffany has a wonderful version. Oh, sorry, the here you can ignore. That's from a first version. Der Fisch wird von niemandem gekocht. I had to kill the nicht. Does that make sense to you? Otherwise, I would say the fish isn't being cooked by nobody. So is not by nobody. And you wouldn't do that. You say anybody. In English, it's a bit tricky because you use the not, isn't being cooked by anybody. In German, we don't have that. Yeah. So in German, fish is not being cooked here by nobody. Or fish is being cooked here by nobody. That would be a better translation. So it's an unnecessary complex example. Yet niemandem. In daily life, Germans do not say niemandem that frequently. Okay, Sean, thank you. So you will hear, fish wird hier von niemand gekocht. Germans don't usually conjugate niemand, but you could do this in accusative and dative. And the opposite of niemand, anyone? It's always nice to learn opposites. They are easier to remember than things that are similar. Someone has to type it and I confirm because I haven't added to the translation, to the presentation. So let's take a look at the past forms. And will redo this presentation and add also the future forms, and I also want to do a few more exercises, but this was a bit quick and dirty. Thank you, Maureen. Jemand is correct. Nicht jemand, niemand. And jemand works the same way. You could say jemandem, von jemandem. So the past forms of the passive. Well, let's start with the present form. Das Auto wird von mir repariert. That's happening now. It is being repaired by me now. Now, if you go to the Präteritum, which is the past that you read about mainly, you rarely use it, with the exception of the passive. Because in the passive, you can use either Präteritum or the perfect. That's the beauty. Whatever is easier for you. Careful, friend. Jeder is everybody, and jemand is somebody. And look at this, how beautiful. Das Auto wurde von mir repariert. Werde turns into wurde, so you only have to learn a new set of werden. I'll show you later in a minute. All the forms, and you see it's pretty regular and easy to remember in the Präteritum. And now take a look at perfect, which will get your attention because the common question that comes when people see this. Yes, Jeff, these are being recorded. You are getting a replay tomorrow, but I will also re-record this at one point. Das Auto ist von mir repariert worden. So the common question I get is, why is it worden and not geworden? And I'll talk about this in a minute. So in the perfect, all you do is you put werden in its perfect past form, ist worden. And the rest stays the same. As you can see in the first two, in all three examples, von mir repariert stays as a fixed place. It's very easy to put this in the past tense. I haven't done this in the future, but Maureen will remind me. Perfect is because of sein and haben schon. Well, it's not because the perfect is being built with sein or haben, but with the passive, you always use sein. If you put the passive into the perfect, you only have the choice ist worden. And that's all there is to know. It's very simple. It's beautiful. Now, there is a plusquamperfect. I thought, why not add this just to show you. Those who are a little bit advanced, the plusquamperfect is the past before the perfect, or before the Präteritum, is the pre-past, so to say. You call it past perfect in English. It's not one-on-one the same, very likely, but it doesn't even matter. So how would you put this into the plusquamperfect, just for those who know it? Others, yeah, so you basically have to put the perfect sentence, because it's called plusquamperfect, not plusquampraeteritum. You have to put the perfect sentence into the past. How would you do that? A little brain twister for today. Huh? And it's only one word you change. One word you put into the past. Because it's the only one you can put in the past. All the other words are already in the past. All other words that could be changed. So there's only three words that you could put into the past because you can only put verbs in the past. Verbs are those blue words. Repariert is already a past participle, and worden is already kind of a past participle. So the only word you can put in the past is ist, and William and Fran have already written it perfectly. The good news is you really, really rarely meet this, but I just wanted to show you how simple it is if you ever come across this. You very likely will never have to create a sentence like this. Yeah? And if you're possibly in a profession that is associated with high-level writing. So just a couple of Präteritum forms of werden. And you see here, and I highlighted Präteritum, the TE in Präteritum is an indicator for a signal that you find in the regular forms. And normally it's TE, but werden softens the T to a D. So the TE is contained in the wurde, wurdest, wurde, wurden, wurdet, wurden. really no magic. It's regular preteritum. And you see a little pink X after ich and S after the ich and S form. That is not an X, it's not ich wurde X. It simply means there is no ending. The DE is, let's say, the stem of the preteritum. Yeah, so there is no ending in ich wurde and es wurde, and that's also something you can observe in other preteritum forms. Yeah, for example, if I take ich machte, du machtest, es machte, and te is the stem of, or is the signal for the preteritum, but there is no ending, so it's not es machtet as you would expect. Just a little insight. So it's the preteritum form is very simple. So if you want to do this, the simpler form is the perfect if you ask me, because it's always ist worden. There's nothing to think about. And then ist you can conjugate blindly, I hope. If I call you at 3 at night, you should say second form plural ist is ihr seid, and so on. Sean, isn't it typical for writing? Mostly it's in written form, the preteritum in stories and official texts and in kind of instructions, but certain forms are being used also in oral, like in a normal everyday situations, mainly the modal verbs, and as you can see here, the perfect. You can use the passive. You can use the passive in preteritum or perfect. It's a regional thing, though. Listen to how people around you speak. Which form do they use normally? Yeah, it's really depending on whether you're from the north or the south, but even then, people will always understand you and you'll be fine. So I have a little exercise. Didn't have enough time to create longer ones, but these exercises are just entertainment for the mind to begin with. It's much better to practice this intuitively with the preaching. Preaching is a technique I teach in the first lesson of my course, so you can all freely preview it. Yeah, preaching is basically pattern drill in which you speak with yourself. So let's see, how can we transform a passive sentence into an active one? This is what you do in language schools normally. And again, this is entertainment, so let me entertain you for a while. But I want to show a principle here. Yeah, I don't want you to do many of these exercises. Das Auto wird von mir repariert. The car is being repaired by me. And if you want to put this into an active sentence, it turns, that wasn't an exercise yet. I will give you more time to do it yourself. If you want to put this into an active form, you have to change things. So when you see the first thing we changed is we had to look for, let me see, we had to look for a new subject, because the auto, the car, is not doing anything here. It is being repaired. That means it's just standing there and it's getting a massage. But it's not the one massaging. So it cannot be my new subject because it has to be active. And the active part, as we've said before, von mir is the doer. That becomes the active part. And the moment you become active, you have to change your physique. And it turns into ich, as you know that. The passive then, you remove the wird, because of course it's only useful for passive, not for active. And the reparieren has to be transformed into a form that suits the ich in the present tense. So ich repariere das Auto. And the one relation you see is the car, which before was officially the grammatical subject, even though it didn't do anything. It was the one being repaired. And now it is still the one that's being repaired, but grammatically, it is the accusative. And again, I will show this to you now, step by step. I just wanted you to be, here you see, the cases change. If the cases are not familiar to you yet, don't worry about it. Yeah? It's just a pattern that you might already get a grip on. So, you can do this now. Or try, and if it's too complicated, don't despair, you'll be fine. Yeah? So, ich werde von meiner Mutter gezwungen. Remember, zwingen is to force. I am being forced by my mother. I want to turn this into an active phrase. And active means the mother is the one doing it. It's still doing it, but grammatically also. So the mother has to become the new subject, the new doer, like the car before, like me before. And then you have to change gezwungen, which is the more difficult part. The main form is zwingen. So like anything without the GE, and the U turns into an I. So, and then the ich has to change into accusative. These are the 3 steps. So let's take a look. Von meiner Mutter turns into meine Mutter, which is the nominative of mother. Yeah, you've learned that in the first lesson. Very nice. Then the verb needs to switch to active present, zwingt. The T is the standard ending for my mother. And then, whom is she zwinging? That's the ich, which now turns into accusative. And it's very easy because it just is like mich. It's the same word, just with an in front of it. Yeah? If you're being forced, you also make this noise, like So this is 2 more examples, and then hopefully that gets a little bit clearer.